I wonder how shall we proceed? Should I do both in one package, or should there be like a break?
I think if you can do them both in one
Okay,
package, that would be good.
Okay, that would be.
Mhm.
So, well, let's get to the topics. Essentially, the goal of the project, which is inspired by a wonderful science fiction book, Diamond Age, or Young Ladies Illustrated Primer, from Neil Stephenson. It's the guy who invented metaverse, so it's somebody who you should maybe take quite seriously. Good old Neil Stephenson. And it's the second book, Diamond Age, which is absolutely visionary. And the main object of the book is kind of a magical book called the Primer. Yeah, Ladies Illustrated Primer. And I was inspired by this book, so I kind of decided to try to execute certain steps to make this real. So the physical prototype is here, one of the first ones. And what is the goal of the project? Well, it's not an industrial project. That's very important to mention. It's more like counter-colonial project. It's about building artifacts. It's not about building products. It's essentially continuing the path initiated by good old encyclopedists like Diderot and Rousseau and D'Alembert. So the goal of Aufklärung is, as we all know, thanks to good old Kant, Mündigkeit. So the goal essentially is to bring citizens to life, young people who are able to be independent and free in their actions. And this is also related to knowledge of reading and writing, actually, because you cannot be full participant of the society if you have difficulties with reading and writing. And more children these days, and there are many different reasons, and digitalization and new media like smartphones are part of it. More difficulties in reading and writing. I won't get into this too deep. Colin is the thing in children basically lost like 6 months of studies when you assess what is the knowledge, how are they behind, what is the it's like the children who were in first, second, and third class during Corona are at least 6 months back in their knowledge. So here we see one of the AI generated contents. With Jamie is the model. When do the prompt, the lustige then das lesson, then you get such a nice picture and images in the system like this generated by the artificial intelligence. So essentially, this is the personal primer. As I say, it's a physical artifact based around Raspberry Pi, so-called e-ink technologies or electrophoretic technologies are very important. I will get into that during the second talk. There's also kind of a didactic concept. It's an idea, but I think we can get to it because when you say digital education, there's a huge mess in people's minds what it is. Is it teaching programming? Is it teaching electronics? Is it working with digital media? Where here you have basically all of it. So the bigger ones potentially can build such things from the off-the-shelf components. And for whom do they build it? They build it for the young ones. It creates a kind of nice reinforcing loop. So that's kind of the ultimate goal, to have primers teaching children how to build more primers. Okay. The topic of this talk. It's accessible already at this website. Fibel is a very nice old German word for primer. So primer is the first book which the child gets when she or he goes into school. And yeah, it's maybe one of the most important works of my life, and I kind of mean it, especially the backend, which you will not see. It's so-called knowledge graph. Yeah, in certain sense, I'm working on this since like 10 years already. I will show you the front end in a minute. So the models which we currently this is something called human machine learning, and this is maybe an added value. Sometimes people ask me, what is the added value of the whole thing? This is the added value of the human machine learning. Just got the paper accepted at a very high profile peer-reviewed journal. Some printouts, so later if you want, I will gladly pass you the printout or give you the link to it. So essentially, the essence of HMPL, so human machine peer learning, is that the machine and the human learn in the same time and learn from each other. So for example, in case of the primary, the child learns how to, or an adult learns a foreign language, and the machine learns how to process accurately and precisely the speech input of the human. So the machine learns speech recognition, and the human learns reading or a foreign language. And we did this test with entity. It got accepted. We're super happy about this because at least some peer reviewers are actually, yeah, leap. So AIED, that's kind of my tribe. That's academic tribe I belong to. I kind of feel it's a new field, or not so new, but getting more and more force into it. So yeah, when it comes to AI in the ED, I think it's very important not to replace human teachers, because if we replace or remove human teachers from the loop, then we'll lose to human factor, and that's very bad. So it's about assisting. It's about creating assistant systems. Yes. Then another very important imperative is to adapt the primer to the child, or adapt the machine to the human, and not the human to the machine. So that's also to come back to my question, which I asked previous speakers. This is a huge danger. We adapt humans to the machines, and the other way around. Yes. So as the child learns, so does the primer. One big danger is that one is too focused with technical aspects, AI-related aspects. One forgets the most important, and that's pedagogy. That's that we deal with children. That we deal with human beings. So in AI and ED in general, like, you forget this, and it's full of apps based on very poor pedagogical practices, and I kind of try to avoid this. How do I avoid this? Well, first thing is yet another paper here. This is about ethical imperatives, and having some kind of ethical codex before you start doing such things is always good. So one important imperative is that do not design, develop, or deploy AI ED systems which you would not allow your own human children to use. So this is the very opposite to what Steve Jobs, for example, did. He didn't really allow his kids to use iPhones, or wasn't very happy about that. And it's closely related to a categorical imperative of internet content, but I will go into this. What I want to say is that I, in the first and foremost, try to avoid bad pedagogical practices by working with Professor Krista Rober and her team. She was supposed to be here, but unfortunately she's now having an important discussion about getting a position at Humboldt. So she couldn't, but she's this person who created a community of people and called Palope, Circus Palope. And yeah, for example, the trochaic structure of German language is very important. So that the words like gehen, kochen, it's practically always the accented and non-accented syllable in the most important, most common words in German language. This is how she exploits the language structure to facilitate Einstieg into world of Buchstaben. Okay, and what is really nice, it's a community project. It's Palopi, so all the resources are under Creative Commons. And also this Primer project is, or should be ideally, a community project. The funding was cut already. I mean, I still see the funding until end of this year, but then onwards, it should be a community project. So if there is somebody who would like to join or organize or co-organize a workshop, feel free to let me know. I will be more happy. Also, if you have any children or any people with dyslexia or reading difficulties who could potentially help me to evaluate and make the prototype better. And I have a team of people like John Kim, a great artist and a coder with me. So please let me know if there's anyone who would like to join. Good. Time for a little video. So here we have one folio related to puzzle. That's this one. Okay. If you go to the website, you can even install it as an app. You click on your smartphone, like install to the background as a progressive. Okay. So. Okay, let's go back. Let's go now to. For example, the color coding comes from the concept of Professor Erba. That was actually her voice. What you just read, what you just heard. Okay, let's get now to something more complex. Like that was the Zilban and the Zilban-Teppiche method of the Professor Erba. Just one of many. As I said, there are already hundreds and hundreds of exercises. It's a strongly generative system. So let's go to forgotten word. Okay, this is where my children wanted to have in, like poops, slips, caca, pipi, and all these things. That's what makes them like enjoy it, so to say. And but let's go here into Palopa. So now we have a section of words. Yeah, so these are the famous Papa, Pepe, Mama, and all these guys. Yeah, and you can change voices. You can change voices. You can change to make it easier. All the Buchstaben can be big ones, for example. I can change the font if I want, and so on. So let's say 100 and 100 little features. Okay, this is two. As I say, please try to understand this from the position of a child. Yeah, this is a very magical moment when the child realizes that what I just said now looks like a princess in Schrift. Yeah, that's so. Yes. So that was like words. Okay, let's just one more thing I want to show with the words. What kids also quite enjoy is like the memory spiel. Yeah. Yeah, and so on. So there are many voices, many accents. As I say, is a strongly generative system. Let's get to level of Sitzen. The Deutsche alphabet is quite nice because it illustrates the paradigm shift and the similarity which we all got through in 2022, notably in the domain of AI. Now, practically everybody knows mid-journey models, for example, in text to image. This all is generated by AI, all the pictures here. So it's not necessary anymore to have human illustrators, so to say so. Or maybe it is. Actually, it is. But here you can click on the words and so on. We call this audio text. I tried to get a patent for this kind of subtitle kind of idea, but the whole patent verfahren is so complex that I let it go. Yes, so that was that was, what is this now? It's the first time I'm testing this on Apple, so I'm kind of still, all right. Okay, now I'm lost. What? Yes, okay, so that was the fibel. And please feel free to contact me when you have certain interest about this. And now let's get to the teacher.solar. Something slightly different. For me, it's the part of one project. But I got a little funding from Stifterverband, not a big one, like 25,000, but still good enough to pay some good people to do some good job. So the title of the project was teacher.solar, open source and hardware toolbox to low bandwidth CO2 neutral online outdoor teaching. And actually it started even before I got the funding with the Bildung BO Zero Corona semester, first Corona semester course, the big blue button one, the good old big blue button times. And then there is one taking place here, workshop, a block seminar, where we are building different artifacts. I will show you some of them. And then there was one seminar on plants, herbs, and weeds. What is it about? It's about outdoor teaching. And why outdoor teaching? It's very healthy in the first place. Vitamin D, lower CO2 concentration, different body posture, burnout prevention. It's simply to teach outside and simply very pleasant and agreeable also to learn outside. It's often those memories which stay in your mind or the mind of your students, outdoor courses. Also, if you do some digital stuff, then harnessing the solar energy, you reduce the CO2 trace. Of course, solar panels are also not ideal because many of them are produced in Xinjiang, Uyghur region, and that's not nice how they are produced, but it's another story for another day. Outdoor activities are an indispensable part of many artistic curricula. I don't know, architecture, you go out and observe the buildings, botanics, and so on, zoology. And of course, there is very little in life which is bigger source of inspiration for artists than nature. Yes, and what is outdoor online teaching? Well, it's basically outdoor plus digital. So we bring people outside, but we still use or try to use digital devices outdoor. This is related to kind of what I call garden area network paradigm. How do I, can somebody please remove this Lautstärke thing? Can you please remove this black thing from there? Possible. So what is this garden area network? It's very simple. You can have a little artifact like this. We call it avocado. There's a Raspberry Pi in it. And that's basically a server. So then you tell your students to connect to this machine. They can even completely forget their smartphones. And all the digital activities which you do take place on the server, which is hanging on your tree, for example. I forgot it once, hanging on the tree after the course. And then there was some rain and I was quite worried that it will die, but it didn't. So yeah, there are certain issues when you teach outdoor, which you have to take into account, but whatever. And yeah, you need some special hardware. E-ink is very important. It's, so to say, a paradigm shifter when it comes to outdoor online teaching or learning, because with the classical displays, of course, it's very uncomfortable under direct sunlight to work. But with e-ink, so the stuff you have in Kindle or Toledo, it's the the light. So you have. Okay, we also developed code called teacher.js. And there's a publication in IEEE, which is kind of the best engineering society. It's Fred Broadback, one of the best coders I ever met. Unfortunately, UDK didn't manage to keep him involved. He's away. Coded the thing, and it's quite a nice platform. That's what people speak about, platforms to do this OOT, for example. More in the paper, or please pass by to see us in the BOL. Yes, so I deploy these tools more and more during different courses, which I call Building BO-Digital. That's like a paraphrase of Studium Generale. But to sell this concept to international audience, I decided to speak also about eco-artificial education. Again, a paper. Again, I will more than gladly give you a copy about this. It's about how we can use different types of AIs, for example, to communicate with birds or so on, because actually we have wonderful classification systems like plant recognition, bird recognition, but if you read academic papers about AIED, this is completely ignored. Like people speak about plagiat detection and proctorship and assessment and this and that, but that you can bring people into the forest and use AIs to do wonderful things. It's ignored by academia, unfortunately. Yeah, so this is what's kind of a big topic for me. And I kind of spent my first semester developing this and writing paper about this. These are the best apps, by the way, to deal with plant and bird and mushroom topics like citizen science and academic research. Don't take the photo, I will give you the paper if you want. Okay. So solar artifacts. Now, what is common to what we try to achieve is no batteries. We don't use batteries, we use supercapacitors. These are different artifacts we built: large tap hub, terminal, Boombox, primary. The presentation is at udk.ai, and if somebody would like to join me in some solar in some with the solar panel, I highly recommend attending to buy one for the BOL. Please let me know. Thanks for attention.